This is Progress Culture.
Progress Culture is a weekly happening where master drummer Paul F. Murphy and I share live improvised music and impromptu conversations with people from various fields and expertises about community, value, art, science, freedom, and progress for all. We are excited to share it all with you, so have a listen and see what's going on this week on Progress Culture. Now, let's get into the show. But first, let's hear some music.
everybody. Dominic Fragman and Paul Murphy here today, coming to you for this week's episode of Progress Culture. And we're stoked to be here today.
Yep.
We're going to talk, I think, we never know really, but we're going to talk about some of the stuff that we do that is in line with this sort of thing that we say every week about inviting and thanking people for participating in a community that is interested in the advancement of information, ideas, art, culture, society. And we always say, if you yourself are doing those things, to please let us know, let your friends know, let's talk about it, because that's the way we can share and get these ideas out there. And part of the way that I know that we are doing that is through music. And, for me, I think it's really important because I feel it sort of puts some of these ideas on display. Not only the desire to push forward in something, and in our case, music and art, but we've talked about before how the music itself kind of embodies the freedom and liberation. So I think it's really important. So
yeah, and I'd like to thank Southern Maryland Loves You.
Indeed, yeah. They are sponsoring some more of our episodes, so
Which is a really good thing.
yeah.
And hopefully they bring some guests to the show.
Yep, we're excited to talk to some of these people about the work that they're doing. The work that they're doing is very helpful in regard to reducing waste and being able to lower cost in terms of providing people with protective equipment in the medical fields. So,
Right.
but that being said, one of the other things that's really important, and part of the reason why we interact, or how we interact with Southern Maryland Loves You, is that they have a part of their charter is to support positive community spirit and things that help generate that. So that's, I think, is equally as important for people to be aware of.
Yeah, especially that heat sanitizer that they built.
Indeed. So,
Yeah.
So music. Let's talk about music.
Well, when you brought up music, the first thing that came to my mind was last week we got to have Sonic Spirits,
Yes.
which allowed us to have Jere, the poet, my wife, on the show, but also interacting with us musically. And that is very special to me. And I believe that, that not only is Jere a really, really great poet, but the music actually develops change when we add her to the music, when normally it's just you and myself. And the duo, which is great, guitar and drums, I mean, I love it. I think it's a progression in music. Everything we play is totally improvised, which I don't think there's a whole lot of people doing that. But that's what I've been doing most of my life. And, I got to do it with some fairly interesting people.
Yeah. And I will say, as far as to be a little bit more specific, I guess, about some of the things that happen in the music, and because we've had these fireside music chats here on Progress Culture a couple times, and we talk about some of the way that we feel about making the music and the process of developing it and all that. And one of the things that I think fits in with that, for me, last week, playing with Jere, when we play with her, it transports me as a number one. It puts me in a different space. It puts the music in a different space. Yeah. And one of the things that I sort of recognized that was occurring while we were playing, and when I listened back, and if you haven't listened to that, I highly recommend you do. It's called Mistress of This Land was the one we did last time, but there are several other ones. But what I realized last week that I hadn't realized yet before is that with her phrasing, the way I have to interact in a way that sort of pulls me into a different kind of thinking about what I'm playing or how I'm executing it to be sort of more entangled or whatever with what she's doing.
Yeah, because a lot of her lines are long,
right,
and flowing, and it's not the real quick interaction,
right.
Although that can also happen.
I think that's
and it does also happen.
Yeah, I think that's something that I perceived last time that I hadn't yet perceived. Was like, okay, because we've talked about this a lot. Like you've told me, we've been playing in this way,
right?
With the guitar and drums, we started practicing like this on a regular basis in 2016.
Yeah.
Is that right?
No, I don't think so. Yeah. Yeah. 2016.
If it wasn't 2016, it was 2017 because that's when we did the residency, we were artists in residence at St. Mary's College.
Right.
And we did all those master classes and different classes about jazz.
Right, and then we also started interacting with Larry Willis.
Right before that.
Yeah.
But during that time, I think we started to rehearse on the guitar and drums at least once a week, which soon turned into 2, 3, 4 times a week.
Yeah.
Which we've continued now.
Oh, yeah.
Until now. I mean, we're still doing it.
Which I feel is important to do.
Absolutely. I mean, the amount of time, the time we spend playing at rehearsal, it's not on a show and it's not recorded, so it's a little bit more loose and more exploratory. I feel like I can take more risks. You know, there's not a camera and microphones up.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
But the goal is to be able to get to
interact, right?
But the main point that I was trying to make by bringing all this up, I think, was throughout that time, one of the things that you sort of said to me more than a couple times is you can let your lines go longer. You can let the lines develop longer. It's been very difficult for me to really perceive how to do that. And last week, having the cadence of her phrasing of the statement, not the rhythm of the statement, but the duration of the statement in total, to play something that intertwines and wraps up in it, as opposed to cutting it off and making it go, trying it like almost like it could force it. Like I would end my phrase before hers, and then it kind of sounds weird or something.
Yeah, and I mean, what it does is it lets the development of composition and as well as just the musicality of things, it lets that develop. And as that develops and moves farther and farther forward, the sound starts to become much more clear, even though what we may be playing and interacting with is usually very rapid. Mm-hmm. But it's rapid, but it's a rapid flow. It's not like a rapid It's not like that. It's a flow which we're trying to develop to change our concept, our playing musical concept, and to develop musicality in composition as well. And I think that's the goal of at least what we're trying to do and have been trying to do. And that's the goal that I've been working on for, I don't know, man, a long time. Since the 60s. You know, and it's just something that needs to continue to develop. And to help it develop, we'd love to have some guests on the show.
Yeah, I mean, it should be known, I think, that we do not think that this music is only to be made with and for and by a duo and or a trio and a poet. We are interested in other musicians,
right,
who are interested to explore music in this way, and
yeah. In fact, I was just talking to Cash Killian, who's played with a whole lot of people, but
Sun Ra,
Ali
Akbar
yeah.
Khan.
And I mean, I had Cash on a couple records, maybe 20 years ago that I, put out, and also with Larry at Maple Shade.
Mm.
And, Cash is, in my opinion, Cash is an excellent cellist. And he can play any type or any kind of music. And he basically started out, playing long venues with Ali Akbar Khan from the eastern side of music.
He plays the sarod.
Yeah. And Cash, is very interested in playing. And, hopefully as we move forward, we'll be able to make that happen.
I also really think that, like, I hear or can hear it's conducive for a horn player.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think
agree.
really anything would work.
Yeah.
It's up to the musician, the person playing the instrument, to do that. But I feel like a trumpet would be really nice sounding in this music.
Yeah, it would. It would be. I mean, I had the opportunity when I recorded at CBS of playing with Dewey Johnson, who was from John Coltrane's Ascension. Mm. And then later on, playing with Rafe Malik from Cecil Taylor's band and Jimmy Lyon's band. Mm. And the last record that Larry and I did, Freddie Hubbard was supposed to be on the record, on the date, and he passed.
I remember that.
Like just a few weeks before the date. So, yes, I would love to add a trumpet as well. So, any of you out there that ready to start playing, please let us know.
We're easy to get in touch with.
Yeah, very easy. Yeah.
So, let's talk about a little bit, too, of the idea of the concept. Because we've also said this many times on the show. There's what you've taught me is that there's two ways to innovate an idea or whatever, whether it's music or painting or math or whatever.
Right.
Concept and style.
Right.
And I think the sound of I feel like there's a concept of this music that is, well, at least we're working on one. If it's not, that is different, a different concept than other musics. Like, let's just say that, for instance, the difference in concept in music can be seen in, like, the difference between bebop and the difference between funk music.
Right.
Or Afro pop and ballet. It's conceptually different. The expression of time and rhythm is different. There's different phrasing and all those sort of things. And I think that's where we're headed with what we're doing, and I guess I wonder, even though I feel hesitant to ask this question to you because I don't. Sometimes you'll give an answer no matter what. Sometimes I think I know what the answer's going to be, and then it's totally wrong. But how would you describe the concept of it?
My description of the concept of what we're playing is just, it's another moving forward in total innovation, where there are many people that say they are not only playing free jazz, but innovating. Oftentimes, there's a small group of written notes or something that they are innovating from. In
Like
what we're doing, that's not happening. We are actually playing right off the top from the first note. Innovation. We're not repeating what we played last week. And we're not repeating what we played 10 weeks before that. So we are trying to develop a new concept, which will also further down the line bring more or less a new style as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think like the interaction of the guitar and the drums right now, when I'm playing the drums and you're playing the guitar, because you can play drums as well, but when I'm playing the drums and you're playing the guitar, I can't really go on YouTube or Google and find that being done.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, that also means that, we're not being bombarded with a lot of work either. However, art is art. And that's what I believe we're trying to put forward.
Oh, sure. Totally. It is an answer. I don't know what I don't know how you could not answer the question when providing an answer. But one thing I want to grab onto that you said is this idea of whether or not it's innovating or just playing or whatever in the context of free jazz, which I would argue is an established context and has parameters.
Right.
And so when you're playing free jazz, there is a kind of thing that you're going for. I was having this conversation recently with somebody on a gig, and we were saying how, like, if you are billing yourself as, or going to see, or hear, whatever, free jazz, you're probably going to get a certain kind of thing that fits into the label that you're sort of suggesting that's there. And like you said, there's what you were saying is that there are preconceived and used themes that they might come up with to base a 20 or 30 minute improvisation off of, where we're not doing that. And I would say that not only we're not doing that, we are not trying to fit it into any of those categories.
Right, and I mean, this is going back some time, but when Eddie Gale played for Louis Bellson's Wedding to Francine, okay, I was chosen by Louis to be the premier soloist at the wedding. And there were a lot of very, very good drummers there. Some I knew, some I didn't know. However, when Louis introduced me, and I had known Louis many, many years and many, many times, had been with Louis at his clinics and what have you. Louis said to me, he said, well, yeah, he said, you're one of the free cats. And I said, yeah. I said, okay. I said, that's cool. And the next thing he said was, well, come on, man, get up there and play. So, I mean, titles and, statements they're what they are.
Right. I would say that to be, again, to try to be a little bit more specific about it for myself. When I think about these things, I think about the concept of time and how in most music that I hear, outside of in like classical music or the things that utilize what's called rubato, what they call rubato, which is just loose time. We're dealing more with that version of time, but also in a different way, whereas most music is dealing with the concept of time as repetitious time, the equal placement and spacing of occurrences, and or subdivided spacing of occurrences. So if I have 4 occurrences that occur, those occurrences, let's just say in regular, what's called common time, 4 occurrences can, when I break that down, let's just say I've subdivided 1 beat into 4, that means I have 1 beat that can cover those 4 beats in equally spaced, as they're equally spaced apart. And this concept of time is something that is very common, not just in music, but in our daily lives as we're following the clock and all these things. But that time, that construct of time and measurement of time is an imposition on time, which is just a constant stream and flow. And I think that's part of what we're getting into, and the way that we're constructing it with the roles. I feel like I spent most of our relationship studying drums with you.
Right.
And I think this has a major influence on, in many ways, what I'm playing on the guitar and what we end up sounding like. Because the concept of the role is in my guitar playing now.
Right. There you go.
And the concept of the role isn't about speed.
No, it's about space.
It's about space. And it's about encompassing, being all-encompassing. So that when
all-encompassing space.
Yeah. And when I think about all the little occurrences that are building it up, I think about it, how similar it is to the construction of matter with atomic particles and all these things. And you need thousands of atoms or hundreds or millions of atoms to build up this human form, or this chair form, and this mic form. And I think of playing music the same way. When we start getting into all this fast,
Right.
the isn't about each.
No.
It's about being able to take all of those particles and form different structures that make up several structures, which make up a composition. And the composition, it's almost like it's like if you had the largest bag of sand that was constantly dripping out sand.
Right.
And when it wasn't being formed, it was just creating a flow. And when you start to form it up into different things, it's like you're using all this sand to build trees, and
Right.
an ocean,
Yeah.
and a carpet, and a pendulum.
man.
I don't know, whatever it is. So I haven't really heard anything like that.
Well, I mean, there may be other things like that, and that's great if there is.
Sure, yeah.
But I'm glad that we're doing what we're doing, and I definitely want it to continue and to develop. And the farther it develops, I think the more perhaps it'll be accepted at some point in time.
Yeah. I don't know how to. Sometimes I don't know how to think about that, because when I find that when I get caught up in that, I get caught up in it, and it stresses me out. I get frustrated by the idea of thinking that.
Well, sure, definitely.
Yeah, but when I just think about the positive benefit that I have gained from studying and learning from you and Jerry and Larry and Cecil and
Right.
all these things that have really been the process of finding this sound in the music required an examination of concepts and elements in music, and then a liberating of those concepts from the things that have been imposed on them. For instance, and to keep it simple, this thing about time that we were just saying, like the difference between repetitious time and a more loose sort of concept of exercising a concept of time that is actually more closely related to the reality of time in existence and how it is all-encompassing. To get to that point required that examination and then a liberation of that concept from what was being imposed on it. And
some acceptance. And that's like when I share some of the things on Facebook, like I'll share it to the New York free jazz community. And every time I share it there, Karen Borka, the bassoonist, hits it up as she likes it. And Karen Borka is probably the heaviest bassoonist that has come out of America, period. As well as the other horns she can play. So, I mean, when I see that, I at least know that there's somebody that recognizes it, and she's got quite a few degrees in music and played with Cecil for quite an amount of years and played with Jimmy, was with Jimmy. And, Jimmy Lyons, I mean, that cat there, I haven't heard anybody blow him away in the last 20 years. And he hasn't been here for 20 years.
He hasn't been here for...
But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like that. So, hopefully, it'll be accepted as what it is. I mean, all it is music, so I don't see where it's all that difficult to accept.
I think part of that is in the ideas of what people have as music, to what music is.
Right.
And they get caught up in what they're used to hearing and that everything should sound like that. When really, music is just the expression and the decoration of time and flow and the arrangement of sounds and the way that you like the sounds to be arranged.
Right, and if it's a new arrangement, then it's oftentimes considered art.
And I think that sort of in line with this, and where we kind of started off with too, is that there is a real significance and importance to those kinds of things, not only existing, but being able to be on display as examples of not only craft and quality, but liberation itself.
Yeah.
Liberated thinking, free thinking, freedom itself.
And that's why I like also when Jere is in the group with us, if you ever listened exactly to the words she's saying, which are a little difficult sometimes to listen to and accept, you'll hear that she's speaking about art as well as the universal goodness or godsend. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's what my playing is at least trying to be all about, and I'm sure that's what yours is. I know that's what it is.
It absolutely is. Yeah. And I meditate every day. I think I probably said this on the show before, but I meditate every day that I can connect and flow with the ancestors, relatives, and universe, and that they will guide me to manifest and share the divine through music.
Yeah, man.
And cool. I can tell you this: when I sit outside and play for the trees and for the birds and the butterflies and the grass, they respond. Oh yeah, definitely. I know that a lot of people would say that's BS and yada yada yada, but I don't really care what they have to say because I've been there and I've seen it. Right. And oh yeah. Definitely. No, I kind of figure if those things are digging it, that those are they're pretty real. Yep, and they're accepting it. They probably have less impositions of concepts on what things should and shouldn't be than most humans. So if they can recognize that it's a real power, maybe it actually is. Yep. Cool. Yeah. So, if you're doing those things in whatever you're doing them in, whatever field or craft or art or any science, anything else, I hunt and unfortunately feel as if I am coming up without finding the things most of the time. And if I would love to see it if you're doing it or read about it or whatever. So, sonic-spirits.com and progressculture.org. You find ways to get in touch with us there. Please, if you don't get in touch with us, I guess that doesn't really matter. I think you should be getting in touch with somebody. I don't care if it's your neighbors or your aunts and uncles or your moms and dads or your best friends. People should know about your ideas. If you're really passionate about them and you feel like they're, you have something to offer and it's cutting edge, share it. You have to start there. So, and if you're willing to go further than that, share it with us. We'd love to check it out, and I think it is truly a contribution to the positive advancement of information, ideas, community, all of it. So, all right, yeah. All right. Thank you all very much. Thank you for listening, and we will see you on the next one. Take care.
Thank you all so much for being with us. We appreciate you sharing your time and consideration. Please feel free to reach out to Sonic Spirits and Progress Culture at sonic-spirits.com and progressculture.org. We'd love to hear from you if you're working on something awesome, or you have ideas for future shows, or you just like to say hello. Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you next time. Much love, and see you soon.